Hey everyone, this is James from TDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I am going to be talking about the specific type of ripe pu'erh and then bringing on a over $1,000 kilogram brick. I only have a 10 gram sample onto an episode, but I'm sure it's going to produce a really ridiculous thumbnail that you've probably already seen. So going to be talking a bit about kind of this ripe pu'erh category in the fancy category that's more of the strong, what I called kind of an ass kicker type from my bad value high-end ripe report, which was a report that was kind of basically focused on these higher end productions from people like Hailang, Yunnan Sourcing, as well as white tea. So this one, these teas, most of these teas that are being made are made with materials that would usually be used for raw. So you're going to see kind of this cross-marketing of them using certain terms. Like you wouldn't necessarily see like a super regionally focused ripe because most of the stuff is usually blends. So dai tea, think about them. It's rarely like, oh, we have a Naka ripe or anything like that. It's like, oh, this is 7452, 7572, 8592. They're blends. Or even Yunnan Sourcing, the Bawang blend. So these really higher end productions will use kind of this cross marketing of, this is Lao Ban Zhang, Lao Man. When drinking through all of these teas, I kind of ran into what I kind of would sort of self categorize as two different types. One is more of the refined type. So think about like Iwu teas or areas that aren't necessarily known for the strength, but are acclaimed nonetheless. So kind of more maybe Jingmai, something like that. Areas that maybe have a little bit more softness to them. And then you have kind of the ass kicker types. So these are mostly based on the kind of greater Bulong area. So Lao Ban Zhang, Lao Man, and what's more of an ass kicker than Lao Ban Zhang, perhaps Lao Man, but Lao Ban Zhang is definitely known as one of the heavy hitter categories. And I think in my opinion, this is a fairly easy to understand and define area just because this is inherently very strong material. It's also from the greater area that has been historically used for ripe. So dai is kind of like one of the forefront figures as far as ripe pu'erh productions go, and they make a lot of their tea from kind of Munghai County, so places like Bulang, Bada, so the same sort of areas. This is just like a much fancier area there. So this brick still currently sells for I think over $1,000 for the brick. So definitely kind of a very pricey one, but I think they're fun to try just because you can just go ahead and buy 10 grams like this. And of course it's an expensive session, but you don't need to commit to the full kilogram. Hailang, I think interestingly was one of those vendors that's fairly early on kind of producing sort of stuff like this. This is 2019. You can find kind of more boutique ripe from this area, but this is definitely one of the pricier ones that you're going to find. Okay, so let's get on to the episode. Like a lot of these other ripes, this one is also lighter fermented, and that just allows you to kind of see the base material there, and it really allows the strength of the tea to go. Just because it's a little bit less processed, it's kept a little bit rawer than you would expect from kind of ripe, like your average standard ripe production. Okay, so let's get on to the tea. All right, so let's get into this tea. Nice aroma, caramel sweetness, antique wood, definitely a little different than your standard ones. I'd say it definitely gives off a richer aroma. This is actually steep number 2. I did steep number 1 a little bit earlier. One thing to note, this brick is pretty compressed. One thing that if you think about it ahead of time, you can do is like give it a rinse and let the tea just hang out for half an hour or something like that before. And that really allows kind of these more heavily compressed teas time to just slowly come apart a little bit and makes the brewing just a little bit easier. It's hard to break up something like this just because you're going to end up with a lot of dust. Why Hailang press this into a huge brick? I'm not totally sure. It does seem like something that has been done fairly often for these boutique producers. Maybe it's just cheaper to do, I'm not sure. But I'm thinking of something like the Shiza Hao Dragon Brick from 2012, 2013 as well. The bright profile is fairly standard. It's vanilla cream. There's actually a strong kind of mouthfeel, a protected mouthfeel here. Some bitterness for sure. Not overly bitter, I wouldn't say. Maybe we'll push this tea in just a little bit too. Yeah, so pretty standard, just nice, thick, and strong so far. Okay, there's that bitterness. But it definitely firmly falls into the ripe category. It's been aged and is not light enough fermented that you're going to confuse anyone with this. Ooh, yeah, you can taste that bitter material there. It's definitely still pretty well balanced. I like the balance of this quite a bit, where it lets you feel its strength, but it's not like it's like, oh, you can't drink it just because it's too strong. It's almost some like light tropical fruit notes coming into this as well. And it still does have kind of those antique wood things going on. So gonna let this one hang out just a bit. So this brew could be quite strong. But yeah, we're gonna stress test this guy. Especially because the compression on this is quite strong too. I would expect kind of the big steeps to come right around this time, especially if I'm gonna push it like this. Okay. So this one we would hope would be nice, strong, bitter, creamy. Yeah, paying attention to the bitterness in my mouth. It is converting fairly fast. There's still a little bit of bitterness lingering. Some of the teas have kind of a bitterness that really, really lingers and reminds me a lot of Lao Man'e ripe. I think the couple that Scott produced, the Cha Wang, is one, and I think that's pretty enjoyable, but I almost need to know that's coming if I'm going to enjoy it, so it lets me sort of like brace for impact. So I would say the same for this one. If you're expecting this to be like really smooth and creamy brew, no, it's not. It's providing a little bit of a different experience than that. Cheers. Let that cool down just a bit. But yeah, I can taste that bitterness coming through as well. Definitely a tea I'm not going to waste because, yeah, this is not a cheap session. So I want to continue to savor this tea throughout the day. And I would definitely expect something like this to have well above average longevity, even compared to other kind of boutique ripes. Cheers. It's nice. Yeah, it's not overwhelming at all. I think some ripes, or certainly some raws that have this sort of material, could get too strong or too bitter. It's not quite the case here. Instead, it does have that kind of like just a little bit of fruit sweetness seeping into the otherwise more standard ripe profile of antique wood, creamy vanilla notes. And yeah, I am going to continue to enjoy this tea. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Check out that bad value ripe report that I did on TDB before, and check out this tea. I do think it's interesting. I'm curious if other people have checked this out at some point. It's nice to just go on and sample something just kind of unique and interesting like this tea. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see y'all next time. Cheers.